Hey y'all, it's Kate and I'm back with a tutorial. We're wrapping up the Anne of Green Gables series today, and I'm going to be showing you how I do her hairstyle. So let's get started. And I'm doing a little experiment. I got a complaint about background music, and I like having music in the background, so I'm adding just basic instructions via text so that if anyone wants to mute the video and watch, they can do that. So what I've done is I've measured the part line for the hairdo and I've drawn it onto some paper, and now I'm going to do 30 loops. And with this yarn, it's pretty thick, so I did 30, but when I'm just using just your standard acrylic yarn, I'll do probably 75 loops for this hairstyle. And now I'm just cutting one end of the circle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep between the lines as I sew, and I'm going to sew 3 passes across the middle of this bunch of yarn. So I always put my foot down a little bit before the line, and I'm combing it out just to make sure there aren't any wonky pieces in there. And then I'm going to press as I go, and the yarn will naturally spread out. And I've been doing this for a while now, and I've just cut out a lot of the steps that I've figured out were just not necessary, and just wanting to make this a more expedient process so that I can make my dolls affordable. I've cut out a lot of the steps that just weren't really helping me personally. So this is what I've come up with. So I'm just going back and forth 3 times over this part line, what will be the part line. And then when I get to the end of the 3rd pass, I'll do a back stitch. And because we've passed so many times, that is going to come right off the paper. I'm just trimming my little thread tail there, and now I'm ready to pin the yarn hair onto my doll. And my daughter made me that pin cushion. I just love it so much. I love boxes. If there's one end of your part that's the yarn is a little thicker on, that's what I would put at the top of your head, at the forehead. So I'm just pinning this. Right down the middle. And it's okay if you don't pull it super tight as you pin. You don't really want it to stretch out, because it will, even though we did 3 passes, it does have a tendency to stretch out, and we want to keep it right that same size, just coming right to the nape of the neck. And I use yarn to sew on my hair. It just tends to blend in well with the yarn hair, and it covers that center seam on the part. And so I'm pulling it apart, so I only have two. I'm pulling it apart just like I would some embroidery thread because I only want 2 strands of the yarn. And I am using a 4-inch needle for this, and please be careful if you decide to use a very long needle. Without going into any gruesome detail, I have almost maimed myself with the long needle, so just be careful, don't pull it towards your face. And so I'm going in very close to that front part, and the hair should hide your knot. And I'm just doing a stem stitch, or kind of an inverted, it's not really a back stitch, it's a stem stitch. And it really kind of wraps over that center part and covers it. And that's why I use that yarn. And the stem stitch will go in on one side of the part and go at a diagonal and come out the other side of the part. So it's kind of wrapping around it as you go. And just pull it nice and snug with each stitch. And I'm just using my finger to hold the neck in place. As I do this last part, it's a little bit difficult. Boom. That is the kind of tug that can be dangerous. So now I'm just tying off the tail of that yarn I used to sew, and I'm going to cut it the same length as the doll's hair, and it will just blend into the braid. It's already looking so cute. I just love this part because you're starting to see it come together, and so I'm going to comb out the yarn a little bit and separate it into 3 pieces to braid. Now when I braid, I start the braid at the chin level, and I start out pretty loosely and then I tighten it as I go. And I usually put the doll between my knees at this part, so you can do that to try to keep the doll steady as you braid. This part is quite fiddly, so just take your time and make sure the braid is good and tight. About 1/3 of the way down is when you want to start tightening that braid. And I'm just checking the length. I like to get it right above the bottom of the torso, and I'll just tie this braid off with the same yarn. And I'll tie it, and then I'll wrap it around and tie it again with a knot, and that seems to hold it securely. And I'm just going to adjust the braid back into place because it tends to ride up as I'm braiding and tying it off. So now I'm showing you each stitch that I'm going to put in. I put 5 stitches in. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the first 4 stitches I'm going to do. And I'm going to come in with my needle up under the braid so that you don't see the knot. This is another reason that I use yarn that's the same color to sew it in place, because then you can't see the stitches. And again, fiddly, y'all. This is fiddly. I mean, it took me a while to master this, and I still struggle sometimes, so don't feel bad if you're wrestling with it a little bit. I actually cut out a little part when I did the second braid because I was trying to give you a good angle, and it just looked like the doll was doing a tumbling routine or something. So hair is always a struggle. Okay, this is the 4th stitch, so just keep an eye on where I come out. There's the 5th stitch right where I pointed. It's going to go right across there. And then once we have that 5th stitch in, it's going to come out of right underneath the braid, just like this, as close to the hairline as you can get. You still need to be able to not tie it off right at that exit spot. So I'm just snagging a little bit of fabric and wrapping my yarn thread around the needle. Right there. And pulling it tight. And now I'm going to thread my yarn through the braid so that it will disappear. This is where I wish I had my silicone thimble because it helps me pull that needle through. It can be a little resistant. All right, so I'm just adjusting the hair into place a little bit, and our first side is done. I'm just going to trim the excess there, and I'll start it on the other side exactly the same. And I'll just say this makes for a very secure hairstyle. I've been very happy with the durability. I test these dolls out on my own kids, and they have stood the test of time. I mean, my daughter, her dolls don't just sit on the shelf, you know, they are on all kinds of adventures. And so I made her one of these 2 years ago, and that doll has been through it, and she looks about the same. And I just love that, because dolls are meant to be played with, you know, and you want them to be able to stand up to the rigors of childhood. Okay, now I'm just checking the length. And tying it twice and knotting it. And just again showing you the 4 initial stitches. And my yarn thread loves to wrap around the doll's arm. I mean, I can't count the number of times. Thread has a mind of its own. Am I right? There it goes again. And again. Right, and I'm putting that 4th stitch in. And that's going to be stitch number 5. Right across the middle. And I just do it right up against that braid piece so that it hides really well. And this is the part I trimmed the footage a little bit because it can be tough getting the right angle. Completely flipped it over. There we go. Tying off that yarn thread. My piece is way too long, but I kind of have a fear of getting to the end and having too short a piece. That's happened many times, so better a little too long. All right. And just an idea, when you trim the ends, you can save those trimmings and use them for stuffing for smaller dolls and probably a lot of other things that I can't think of right now, but she's done. Thank y'all so much for joining. If you've made it to the end, you're awesome, and don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time.